Welcome to The Mix, a fusion dance podcast where we dive into the world of blending dances and all that comes with it. We're talking about everything from the highs of nailing that perfect combo to the lows, emotional, and mental challenges and more. And if you're new to the dance scene, don't worry, we've got you covered with practical tips to help get you started, feel comfortable, and most importantly, have fun. So come on in. We can't wait to dance with you.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to The Mix. Today, we are joined by three wonderful, incredible, magnanimous community organizers, event planners. I'm talking people who found things, who make dance things happen. We are joined by none other than Jordan, Jeannie, and Jason. Can y'all please say what's up to the people? Let us know who you are, what you do, what you're about, and we can get into it.
Well, my name's Jordan, and I mainly work at the Atomic Fusion Lounge in Irvine, and I want to attend and provide as many dance opportunities for everyone as possible.
I'm Jeannie. I used to organize Tiny Dancers with Ian Carberry, and now I co-organize Angel City with Bo.
I'm Jason. I run an event called Fusion Vibe in Los Angeles. Been doing it for 2.5 years or so. The idea came because I wanted to fuse communities together and get people dancing and mixing their styles together. I've been dancing for about 10 years or so, off and on. So that's what I'm about.
How did you guys end up falling or getting involved in organizing dance socials? Or is it one of those things that kind of fell into your lap?
Tiny Dancers was the first venue that I started with Ian. And basically, we were at Angel City. Ian comes up to me and's like, hey, I really want to run a venue, have a vision, for a different, not that, we love Angel City, but we just saw something like a different venue could exist in LA. And I was like, yeah, I have always wanted to run a venue too, which was true. I just hadn't done anything about it. And I was really surprised. We kind of went on an adventure. He was really gung-ho about it. And, he was serious. He was like, okay, cool. Next weekend, let's go look at venues. I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, that's how Tiny Dancers started. And then after COVID, Bo asked me if I wanted to do Angel City together.
Yeah, for me, all the stars aligned. So I was doing various dances, doing fusion and Lindy Hop and Kazamba and Zouk. And I went to various social dances and found a venue oh, this is cool. This would be a cool fusion event space to do a social at. And then there was an available weekend in LA. And then I said to myself, why don't I try to do a social here and see if I can do it? My friends were doing it. Some people encouraged me, and I just started to do it. And it's been very rewarding and very fun to do.
So I had been volunteering at various dances in the LA area, and pretty early on after the pandemic, Scarlett, who I co-organized with at Atomic Fusion Lounge, approached me and said she was trying to get the fusion room at Atomic started up again. But we wanted to wait until the time was right, until it was safe enough. So even after Atomic opened up, we waited a little bit longer, then that was it. And it's kind of like a easy mode for organizing an event because I don't have to find my own space and set all that up. It's all done through Atomic, and we already have the room, so we just make sure the room is taken care of.
Okay, so on the outside, what people see at these dance socials is oh, it must be easy because all you guys have to do is just advertise on Facebook. You guys post it on your social media, and then you just wait for people to come. Easy peasy. Find a DJ, play music, that's it. So what are some misconceptions people have when it comes to organizing a dance social?
So many. Let's see.
That finding a venue is no easy task.
Because you got to deal with parking. Is it safe for people? The location, the physical location, is it far from people? There are a lot of factors to consider.
Yeah, and then beyond just the cost, things cost more than people might imagine. And obviously trying to balance the price point that will maximize people going, but also minimize the risk of somebody going bankrupt or losing money. That's one aspect. But the other aspect is just marketing your event. So we live in LA. We're very lucky to. We have so many options on a given Saturday night or Friday night to do anything else besides go to a Fusion event? And how do you kind of market your event to specific people to say, hey, my event's happening, you should come for these reasons, and to give the people those reasons, especially if you're not an established event like an atomic ballroom or a ACF, kind of like my event when it first started. That was something that I had to think about, like, how do I market to these people so that they come to a new event that they know nothing about?
Did you feel like the first 3, 4, 6 months were a struggle because it's a new baby that you're birthing?
In having a new baby, and having a product, a dance, an event, a social, a community hang, especially in LA on the West Side, there were a lot of expectations on myself, but also excitement for the community to put their input into it and put their energy and give me ideas on how to make it better. And I receive and I talk to a lot of people about how to shape an event to cater to them, but also maintain my vision. So kind of balancing that has not been a struggle, but something that I always have to think about, because at the end of the day, the event is for the people. It's not for me. Um, we don't get rich off of doing this. We do it because we love it. We do it because we want to bring communities to get together, and to listen to the community is very important, and to give them something that they want and give them something that they don't have as well is important too. And just to maintain the quality has been something that I've been always trying to strive to hit.
I guess like maybe for myself, it's a little bit different than you, Jason. In that like the 2 venues that I've organized with another person. So it changes the dynamic a little bit. I
Yeah.
feel like, like I feel like, I mean, I don't know because I've never done one by myself, but I feel like I have a little bit less of the nerves thing just because I'm doing it with somebody else and we're in it together. So there's a little bit more of like, oh, like there's a team aspect. And I guess I feel like my co-organizer like has me,
Yeah.
like I feel connected, or I know I'm lucky enough to have like good organizer partnerships where I feel like trust and I feel commitment. And so I don't feel as like nervous because of that.
I can remember the first Fusion Vibe and the first Tiny Dancers, and attending both of those first times of these monthly dance events. They were very well attended and very well received. I don't think Tiny Dancers ever dipped that low in attendance. I don't think Fusion Vibe ever has. It's always been a great turnout. So it seems like whatever you two did to market it, and just by being part of the community, you've done really well to get your event out there and make sure people show up. Whereas early on with the Fusion Lounge at a otherwise swing dancing event, sometimes we did get just like 15, maybe 20 people. And so we just celebrated every, I guess, kind of increase in turnout. And then I think we've probably peaked around like 50 or 60 people coming up to the room at some point in a single night. So we definitely celebrate that and just enjoy, I guess, every victory and not get, I guess, depressed
Discouraged?
or discouraged
Yeah.
by lower attendance, because things come up all the time, and we'll be back the next week and keep dancing.
One of the things I think make a difference, and I'm saying this as someone who has danced around a lot of different places and has strong opinions about things, some that I probably shouldn't share. None about anybody here, but I think a difference in a lot of really good or robust or enjoyable events has a lot to do with the people who are there and the people who run it and the people who organize it. And first, let me just pay y'all a compliment. If your events weren't good, I'd privately, quietly say, hey, this ain't it. But to any and everyone listening, and especially to y'all, each one of your events brings something special that as a dancer, I enjoy and I love, and I feel like I get something out of it.
What's something you learned that has surprised you? It could be something about dance. It could be something about, oh, I did not know events. This is how much is involved. Or it could be even learning something about yourself from coming out of this.
I think for me, it's creating the proper vibe of a venue and event. So that means a lot of things. It means, first of all, the parking and logistics. Some people won't go to a venue because the parking isn't ideal, or the location's too far away, or the location isn't in a perceived safe area. All those things matter. And just like being an organizer, trying to find a venue, those things are top of mind that I would never have thought about previously if I didn't actually organize myself. And then once you step into the space, just the importance of creating a space where I feel vulnerable and ready to dance, especially to fuse with somebody who I may not know, to a song I don't know, at a venue that I don't know. So just creating a space that allows all the dancers in the community to either dance, socialize, be themselves, and let go and be safe to be who they want to be for that night.
I think the thing that's been the most surprising for me that I've learned, I guess I'm just so overwhelmed with like the amount of like really amazing friends that I've made throughout the way. And so, organizing for Tiny Dancers, I feel like at that time I had just moved to LA and I had been out dancing, but I hadn't really really enmeshed in the community yet. And somehow through organizing, it wasn't just like, okay, there are people talking to you because you're organizing, blah, blah, blah. But I really felt like that opened up a time where I made like genuine friends. And that continually surprises me, even with ACF as well. Just the feeling of people who actually are there and actually have my back. Like that's something that I wasn't expecting and something that's like absolutely precious.
I feel like I can still relate to that, even just as an attendee, because, and I know other people listening and they kind of come in solo sometimes. And it's a bit intimidating being like, I'm going to show up at this dance place, dance with people. I guess I'll bounce and go home. But over time, it's kind of like happy hour with coworkers, right? Over time, you start to see the same faces. Eventually, you'll say hi, and then they'll introduce you to other people. And then, like what Kaylin has mentioned in the past, is you start to get to know them as a human on a human level. And so this unexpected friendships start to happen. And it's such like a beautiful surprise. It's like a beautiful gift that you weren't expecting at all to play out in that way.
Yeah, I think it kind of got me at a few points. Like I think one time it was at Tiny Dancers and it was super late and we needed to like clean up. And then I looked around and all these people were helping clean up, even though they weren't like technically on the like cleanups like staff or anything or on the sign up sheet. Like everybody was just doing it, and like, putting up like sound equipment and everything. And so I don't know, that was just like so touching. And also to see people like care for each other, not just my relationships with them, but to like see them, oh, do you need to like walk to your car or like, can I give you a ride home or, things like that.
Yeah, it's like when people, how to explain it? Over time, this is kind of in a way quietly building that community aspect in dance that people talk about. For people that don't know the dance community, you're like, what are you guys talking about? You just come, dance, and then peace out. How do you build? How are you guys just like best friends all of a sudden? But it kind of develops over time because we all see each other at least once or twice a month because we go to the same events, right? But yeah, it is beautiful being able, I think, because we all have such a great passion for dance and that it feels natural and like, why not help if you see people breaking down? It's just like I feel like something innate in us that wants to, when we feel in a place we belong, how can we not help?
Yeah, kind of just in line with what you were saying, what Jeannie was saying, I'm kind of surprised with how invested I am in like the personal lives and the growth and success of people in this little community I have and how much I want to see them like, get a better job in their career, in their field, or like grow as a dancer, um, grow into other roles such as DJing. There's a lot of people that like to DJ or would like to try. And Scarlett and I are happy to have people come in because we're there every week. So whether you want to do an hour or two, we've got time and we've got space. So why not give them a shot? And then spending so much time with all these different people and trying to talk to them and get to know them is like, I want them to grow as more than just dancers and hopefully use dance as a way for them to grow in other areas of their life.
Yeah, it's like wanting to see your fellow dance friends thrive. What is so Kind of spinning off on that though, do you guys feel actually as dance organizers, people might feel a bit intimidated to approach you guys?
Well, also they may feel, especially on the spot, the need to maybe how do I say this? They don't want to make you feel bad about negative feedback in the moment. They want to, say positive things like you're doing the thing, you're actually putting on an event. But when and where people can be truly candid with you, especially if they don't know you, that can always be a little tricky.
I would say it's hard for me to really understand how other people feel about approaching me to dance. I hope they feel comfortable to do so, but I can't say for sure if that's why people don't ask me. I try to be outgoing and ask, especially new people or first timers, to dance just to make sure they have good experiences and want to come back. But I do remember being a young and inexperienced dancer and seeing like the people who really knew what they were doing, who were regulars and seemed to know all the important people, that it can be really intimidating. So maybe that is a factor with people approaching me or not.
I think sometimes you don't hear about the feedback until later sometimes. And sometimes I think people have thoughts and opinions about certain things and you just don't hear about it for whatever reason. And so something that I'm thinking about now, it's just kind of on my mind because it happened this year, but my friend Ian passed away unfortunately this year. And we did a thing at Angel City and I was a lot of people came up to me and like said things about tiny dancers and I never knew, it was because he had passed and there was this like we were there to celebrate his life. And then all of a sudden people are telling me things like, oh, like that was like my first intro to like fusion, or this was like this was my favorite dance, or whatever it was that they shared with me. So probably there are a lot of things that
Yeah.
are happening for people and they're just unspoken.
Yeah, we just hear from the people who want to be heard, who are more vocal, who are more extrovert, who are more willing to say something. We don't necessarily hear from those who are a little shy or don't know how to say something in the moment. So the feedback can always be skewed in one way. And I think post an event is a nice way to allow people to get some time away from the event and say, this is what I really think after sleeping on it versus doing it the night of. Then it can be a little bit skewed because they're tired or they're coming off a dance high. I think getting post dance feedback after the event, whether the day after or a couple days after, is the most advantageous sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah, I think for anyone listening in, and if you guys have suggestions, comments, opinions, I know from the perspective of an event organizer, there's so many factors that go into making it successful, like whether it's the music, the attendees, the vibe, the feeling, the theme. So I know that you guys are all open to feedback and comments and suggestions. So I just want to say, like, let them know so they can make it a better experience for you next time.
I think there is a way to give feedback at Atomic for whether it's the rest of the dances at Atomic or the Fusion Lounge, but it's not something we've announced a lot of lately. We usually hear good things about the DJs. I know there's a couple times, like several months ago or maybe last year, where people didn't have completely positive feedback, but I think there's a lot of value and especially negative feedback, because if you get good feedback, that means you're doing something right. Don't change anything. Hard to improve on that. But if you get negative feedback, you can, hopefully it's constructive and you can directly address it. Or if it's not, you can at least talk to that person and say, well, what would make that better? What would make it a better experience for you? So I definitely welcome feedback on anything, really.
Okay, let's switch it up here. What are some pet peeves for you as a dance event organizer?
I've got a couple that come to mind. So one of them is just seeing bad floor craft and I guess people being irresponsible on the dance floor, whether it's not being mindful of the space they're taking or when they're moving, how close they're getting to other people, and sometimes even leading to small bumps and things. Or just not respecting the space around them. And then another thing is just working with DJs that I don't think put enough time curating their sets and playing music that kind of like brings down the energy or drives the crowd away.
Yeah, I think floorcraft is a issue. I don't know if it's an issue just in LA, but in LA right now, the floorcraft is a big topic that I'm thinking about, just in terms of dancer safety, but also um, just having the mindset of being safe around the other dancers and keeping your community safe, whether you're a lead or a follow, just being cognizant of that. And then, like Jordan mentioned, I haven't dealt with this personally yet, but I could foresee dealing with people who aren't willing to be collaborative for your event, because it's not sexy to think this way, but the event is also a product too. So if the experience of the DJs or the dancing isn't very high, it reduces the product. So it's up to the organizers to kind of curate and bring a product that people want. And sometimes that involves like giving feedback and telling certain people, oh, this is the direction it should go, because we want people to be dancing. We want the product to be good. So I could foresee that being a problem. I haven't had that yet at my event, but I could foresee that being a big issue.
I think I agree with Jordan and Jason about the Floorcraft thing, especially from like a teacher standpoint. But I think it bothers me because it's something to do with how you respect the space around you and the people around you. And I know that not everybody's like there in the skill level. And so I totally get that. And I think we should aim to not just dance with your partner, but to be able to like dance with the entire room. So every couple, like we're all dancing with each other in the same room and being mindful of each other. I think for pet peeves, I think I'm going to word it a little differently. Something that I wish that people knew is that the time before a venue starts, like could actually be pretty stressful for the organizer. Like not always, but sometimes, especially if it's a bigger event. So usually when the event it's running, like there's music, the DJ's there, everybody's there ready. Usually at that point, you're at a pretty good management level. And when you clean up, you just have to clean up. But the setup process, like the time that you have to set up, especially if it's a bigger event, that can be like a pretty stressful time where like people are like, there's like high tension, you got to get all the things done and you're rushing around. And I guess my suggestion to people is like, maybe that's not the time to, tell the organizer like, hey, you know what, like, I don't like this, or I don't like where the water is located, or, something really like, of course, if it's something big and important, like, please tell us, but if it's something just kind of very like, it's just bothering you, like maybe it can wait until after the event. So that's just something that I would say.
Such good tips or advice. I'm going to insert my opinion here because I do event planning, more like weddings, conferences, and everything. So it's kind of like same umbrella, different events, right? So I agree with Jeannie. Like before a wedding, people somehow they think they're friends with you, or they're just like, hey, so how was your weekend? And they don't realize, even though you're trying to arrange things, that you're busy and you don't want to be mean, but you want to be like, please leave me alone until we get this started, and it's really, but at the same time, you guys are hosting it. So you don't want to give off that vibe to attendees and be like, well, I don't want to come to that because Jeannie snapped at me, So yes, I totally can relate to that. And also as someone that does events, you work with vendors, floors, or DJs and stuff like that. And one thing, if people are listening in, they're like, I'm interested in DJing or I'm interested in teaching and stuff. I think sometimes people's ego gets in the way, or sometimes they forget to this is still like, it is a business. You still need a profit and make money, but also at the same time, like as a DJ or teacher, you are a vendor and you need to be professional. Yes, dance is fun, but at the same time, if you want people to work with you again, do not let your ego get in the way. If you're a problematic person, need a lot of handholding, people aren't going to want to work with you again. And they're probably not going to recommend you to other venues or other spaces. So that's just like my perspective from like, they might get a 5-star review because let's say the bride and groom were like, the photography is great. The DJ was great, but the wedding planner might be like, I'd give them 2 stars because they were a pain in the butt to work with. So I think for people that are interested in the future for being a vendor, being a teacher, or being a DJ, like make sure you're also professional at the same time as well, and keep that in mind. And don't let your ego get in the way because this is their event. They, like Jason said, it's a product. They want it to be really good. It's not about you. You might think your music is bomb and people should just listen to it and you're the king right now of the dance floor. It's like, no, this is about the people on the dance floor too. So that's my 2 cents. I had to say that.
It's true. I completely agree. There's some DJs that we just don't work with anymore because they were unreliable, like no showed or something like that, or maybe one or two DJs that did not receive feedback well. So it's not someone we want to work with. So I definitely agree. Put the ego aside and just be open to feedback.
Yeah. These are all things like when someone has to, like you guys, when you start your own dance social, you have to take into factor. So what's some, I guess you guys kind of answer this question, I feel like, but is there any other piece of advice you give to someone that wants to start their own dance social? Doesn't have to be fusion, just their own dance social event.
I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give somebody, I know there's the whole like organizing the dance social, like, finding a venue, instructors, DJs, like whatever, all the stuff, and there's the doing it part. But I think one thing that gets overlooked a lot is how to make it sustainable. Like, how are you going to make it so you can be consistent? And that a year later, you're not going to burn out and that you're still going to be continuing. Because that's something that I see a lot these days in not just LA, but other scenes as well, where a lot of scenes, and I totally get it, because it takes a lot to organize. And so it's very common that, you do it for a year and, and then you fizzle out and you're like, I can't do this anymore. And so one thing I would suggest for anyone who's planning on organizing is to think about the long game. Like, think about how you're going to make this work for yourself so that you can feel nourished and, you're receiving something from it that allows you to continue forward. Or maybe you need to find other people to help you, or whatever it is to help you continue running it.
Yeah, just to add on to what Jeannie said, advice I would give is find your army of advisors. Find people who you can talk to about logistics, about music, about price point, about all these things. Because if you do it alone all the time and you don't talk to anybody, it can be very hard. You can be thinking in kind of like a silo. You want to hear different perspectives so that your event can attract lots of people, and lots of people of different backgrounds and different dance styles. So I would say lean on your network, lean on your community, and see what people want. See what type of event isn't out there. What type of event would be amazing to have that we don't have yet? Just keeping your eyes and ears on the pulse of what's happening, just through the community that you may have.
But like, what are some of the things that are running through your mind as an organizer, especially when it comes to safety, that kind of point you in that direction of like prioritizing and making sure people are safe and are comfortable?
So unfortunately, there's been enough of that at the Fusion Lounge that I get practice, or we did get some practice dealing with this sort of thing in various ways for, I guess, maybe various offenses. So in that case specifically, or in any case, if it happened that same night and that person is still around, we just try to address it first by making sure the person harmed was safe and that they feel comfortable and can talk to someone about it, whether it's myself, Scarlett, or someone on the staff at the Atomic Ballroom.
So I know as organizers, you want to know right away. People that are dancing, they might not have that, let's say, courage, or I guess they have that hesitation to speak up. But for Jeannie and Jason, have you guys had conflicts that have come up, or similar things that have come up for you guys?
Well, I think just to kind of bank off of what you're saying, I think I do want to encourage for anybody who's listening out there, that if you're not sure, like if you're thinking, oh, I don't know if this is serious enough to like make a report about it, should I talk to the organizer about it? I think from an organizer's perspective, it's always good to know about it, even if it's not super serious, even if it's a minor thing, just because if we hear like multiple times it's the same person, then we can kind of like log that in. And so for future reference, we'll know like, oh, okay, this has happened like maybe it wasn't a serious offense, but it's happened like, multiple times. And then now they did something that was like a little bit more escalated and now we need to do something about it. And so it's always good to know, I think.
Yeah, let your organizer know, because 99% of the time, if it's happening to one person, it probably is happening to other people, or it's happening again at some other time. I've had people tell me on the spot. I've also had people tell me a week or 2 weeks after about an incident too, and that's definitely okay. But just let your organizer know about what's happening, just so that they're aware.
I have a question for Jeannie, and I'll preface this question with a very quick anecdote. So I don't remember the year. I can't tell you the year. I just know it was pre-pandemic. And I remember I was like super excited to come like dance in LA. And I'd been to like a couple things here and there. And I remember seeing Tiny Dancers on like Facebook or something. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's gonna be cool. And there was like a special. It was like I think it was the second dance is free. The second dance is this. It was something to that effect, right? But the incentive was at the second dance. So I'm like, well, I don't even know if I'm like the first one. So I go. It's actually really dope. I'm like, oh shoot, like this is kind of crazy. Okay, like because I just didn't know what to expect. And I don't remember the second time I came. Like I don't remember the exact distance, but it was like I think it was like it might have been like 2 years. It was long enough that I was like, oh okay. Like I don't even remember what my opinion was of the first time. I just remember like logging it as I would come back. But what stood out to me was you were at the sign in and you were like, you've been here before, right? Because I was just gonna pay like it was my first time. And you were like, you've been here before, right? And I don't remember if I had there might have been like one other crossover at like Motley Hue or something like that in New York. There might have been that, right? But what stood out to me was like, I was like, wait, yeah, I was here. Like, how'd you what? It was that moment of like recognition that made me feel so special. And so just like I was like, like, okay, I don't even care about the dancing. Like, I'm gonna have a great night just off of that, right? But what are the thing that you're looking for people to feel when they come to your dance or when they come to something that has your name on it? Whether it's a dance, a class, a workshop, a potluck, a bonfire, I don't know. But like what is something you want people to walk away from? Because for me, it was recognition, it was being seen, it was just like that moment of like, oh, you actually care about the people here. They're not just names on a sheet. Not that I'm saying that's anybody else, but just wanted to highlight that and point that out.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you are special.
Oh,
And I think that's one of the things that I like about the fusion dance community, not just the fusion dancing, but just also the time outside of the dancing part that we do. And so, for the venues that I'm a part of, or actually not just even other people's venues here in LA, I don't know, I guess I want there to be a feeling of like you're walking away feeling like you've been loved and cared
hmm.
for, and that you get a chance to connect to other humans and have like a real like human interaction, kind of like what you were saying about being seen. I feel like sometimes it's like, when you're on the subway, well, okay, like none of, we're in LA, so that doesn't happen that. But when you're in other places and you're on the subway, and how like everyone's on their phones, everyone's ignoring each other and stuff like that. And I feel like what I'd love fusion communities to have, or, the venues that I go to, I would really love for people to have that moment where they just get off their phone and to just like be with each other and see each other and just have that moment of like tenderness and open-heartedness and just that, yeah, that like I care about you kind of vibe. Yeah. And
So
so
what I'm hearing is you're gonna take everyone's phone at the door at the next. That's what I'm getting.
I've thought about that sometimes. I know that sometimes at certain events they do that. And so I don't know. I wonder how that would go, but often I feel like people aren't on their phones anyways. People are usually dancing.
I would say for those new to fusion, those uninitiated, to have them walk away feeling like, oh, this is interesting. I would want to try more, especially for people who've never seen it before. It's hard to describe what fusion is. You have to see it and you have to feel it. And to bring in new dancers to the scene is something that I try to prioritize. But for the regular dancers, yes, you want to give them a good time, give them songs that they know, and have them dance with dancers that they know so they can do their thing. But also to challenge people a bit, where you bring in new music that they didn't know they needed, but they need it when they needed it, and they found out they needed it after you gave it to them.
Mm.
Or bringing new dancers to the scene who you didn't know, infusing your style with them with their style. So just bringing more, not necessarily challenge, but curiosity to the experienced dancers who are in the scene too.
Okay, so with all these people, and it takes a lot to run an event, How can people help you and support you as an event organizer?
Honestly, I think we would all really benefit from having each individual work on their own skills, whether it's, well, especially dancing, just trying to improve themselves and like learn more and do better in a dance. Not to say that they're not doing well enough, but to see that, I guess, kind of passion in an individual, it can be really contagious. So whether it's a new person or a veteran dancer, seeing that passion and dancing with someone that has that passion is definitely a fun experience, and it makes for an amazing dance. So the more people that have that and that can spread it, the better we all do.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to be an additive community member, whether that's getting better at your dance style or becoming better at certain dance skill, that helps, but also just spreading the word or being a good community member, talking to people who aren't necessarily dancing, talk to people you don't know. Just trying to be somebody who can give something to the community rather than just take all the time. Not that taking is wrong, but it's nice when you see members of the community who give their time, whether that's walking someone to their car or talking about their day or sharing about their cat or being someone who can listen to somebody talk about whatever and just being there. So I think just trying to be additive is something that can be really beneficial to everybody in all events.
I think everything that Jordan and Jason already said, like finding the one, like you don't have to do all the things, but maybe just find the one part that you feel very, motivated in, or maybe you're particularly skilled. Maybe you're already a photographer or a videographer or something, or maybe you like social media and like telling people about stuff. So just find the thing that you feel really passionate about. And I feel like the one thing that Fusion really needs now is new people. So I feel like telling your friends and getting other dancers or dancers from other dance communities, so we have more to play when we fuse. I think that's the part that we need more of. The fusion scene is not super big, so if we don't want to like die out, we need to be bringing in more people. And then maybe we'll be having more events and more fusion here in LA.
I think it's really cool when you can go to a place where you don't know people and you feel like you're welcome. You feel like you're home. You feel like you're safe. You feel like you could talk to anybody there. Is there something that you would say, or is there something that you can do, or something that you've seen as organizers to kind of cultivate that sense of welcome? Because I think a lot of the time people want that in a community, but don't always know how to cultivate it or create it or bring it in, you know?
If the organizers and the people who are regularly attending events are welcoming and outgoing to new faces, people they may not know, whether they're new dancers or people visiting from out of town or anything like that, just being outgoing and asking them to dance or just having a quick conversation with them. That's about as best of an answer I can give.
I think there are a lot of different ways you could go about it. Like as an organizer, the way that you are kind of carries into the space. And I think also even like where the furniture is and everything, like the vibe of the place. So for example, if a venue had no chairs and nowhere to sit down, then that doesn't really help foster like getting relaxed and settling in and, feeling comfortable so that you can hang out with people. And so, I'm just thinking right now, like at Tiny Dancers, one thing that we had were these big, gigantic love sacks. And so, they were like giant and you could fit like 9 people on one, and maybe 12 dancers on one. And I felt like that really fostered a sense of like welcomeness and, connection, because everybody would see it and they would just be like flop and everybody would like flop on top of each other. So that's the answer to the question. Love sex.
Love Sacks.
Yeah.
Shout out Love Sacks. If you want to sponsor this episode, please find us. Find us quickly. Thank you.
I also want to plug in that a lot of these social dance places, they're always looking for volunteers to help registration or setup and stuff like that. And in exchange, you can attend the event for free. So make sure to reach out to them and check them out. I want to thank you, Jason, Jeannie, and Jordan, for taking the time to be here out of your schedule and sharing a lot of behind the scenes of what it takes to put on these events that bring us together. So with that, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and give us a follow and 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify. You can check us out on social media at Fusion Dance Podcast. Or if you have any suggestions or comments, reach out to us at fusiondancepodcast@gmail.com. And down below in the show notes, I'm going to include a document of all the places you can go fusion dancing with in LA, as well as Jason, Jeannie, and Jordan's info. So make sure to check that out all down below. So thank you for being here with us, and we will see you next time.